Good morning and welcome to EXSIN Live. Mute is off. We should see a picture and sound today. We've got it all checked out. The technology appears to be working, Phil.
Are we
It's
sure?
amazing. I hope so. I don't see any mute buttons. So we're trying not to make that mistake twice in 2 weeks. I hope that you're all having a great week. I hope you're all ready for Thanksgiving. Whatever your plans are next week, please be safe and be careful. Today, we're going to start a 6-part series talking about the 6 things your business must master. And if they do master this, they're going to be successful. It's a fact.
Yep. Fear, anger, intimidation.
Ridicule,
what else?
sarcasm.
Ridicule, sarcasm.
In fact, the old pilot training philosophies that we had in the Air Force. We can't do that anymore. People get in trouble. We're not allowed to be mean to people.
Got to hug people.
Yeah, you got to hug. But today, the first thing that you've got to have as a business owner understand is leadership. And it starts with you and your ability to forecast your vision and your mission. We talk about this all the time. And we talk about it all the time because it's that important.
Yeah.
And you made a comment yesterday about leadership that I want to talk about today because I think it really resonated with me and it's true. And it's what the leader, besides the vision and the mission and the values and all the stuff you know you need to do, and I know you've done, it's how are you making your team's job easier?
Yeah, I mean, we were talking yesterday, and I said a true leader stops the stress at their level. So what I mean by that is if there's pressures out there, if there's things going on, you absorb that as the leader. You take that on, you own that, you stop it from going down into your organization. Now, it's good to have a sense of urgency in your organization. You've got to have a sense of urgency. But I'm talking about the raw stress, the stress that comes from, oh, crap, we got to pull this off. Dave's had a lot of experience dealing with stress that really mattered. I've had some of that myself. But the reality is that every great leader I ever was associated with, it always seemed like everything was smooth and everything be a duck, right? Calm as a cucumber above the water, and legs are going a million miles an hour under the water. So, you've got to create a culture. There's that word again. You got to create a culture that the ownership, the leadership teams, the ownership teams, the folks that are charged with casting the vision, leading the day-to-day of the organization, they absorb that stress. They don't allow it to get down into your sales force, to get down into your operational teams, to get down out in your manufacturing plants if you're a manufacturer, to get to your customer service teams. You've got to take that off of their plate.
So I'm going to make this really easy to understand. You have a cash flow problem. You have a money problem in your company. Things are not going as well as you would like right now. The last thing you need to do is start pulling the fire alarm in your organization and screaming at your employees.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. If you're a business owner that hasn't experienced that, congratulations. Right? But
most business very long.
Most business owners go through a stretch where things are not good and they could be in jeopardy of losing their business. Yeah. It's during those times, leader, if you keep your cool and you make good decisions and you survive that experience, your business will be 30 times stronger than it is today. And the leadership piece we're talking about is specifically that. When everything in the world is falling down around you, you got to stay strong and be calm and guide the team through the rough waters.
I'm going to try to hit something here, Dave. Last time I did this, I shut the whole world down. There we go. Yeah, I think to the
hey, we didn't have another technical difficulty, Phil. Good job.
I'm an IT guy.
You are. You're getting better. You're not throwing your computer anymore, which is huge.
I'm an IT guy. You buy a couple of those after you have temper tantrums.
Yeah, it gets expensive. Yeah, they get expensive.
But no, I think to just kind of continue on before we move on to the next area, but
we're just talking about leadership today.
Right.
Keep it easy.
But the next conversation about leadership is I'll ask a question. Has anybody ever had an owner or a direct supervisor that was unaware of what was going on in their day-to-day life, meaning their work life, right? I'll give you an example. I talked to somebody in the last couple of days that was working 12 to 14 hours a day. They're putting in 8 hours a day every Sunday. Their workload kept getting heavier and heavier and heavier. Okay. It's easy to say, Well, suck it up. I mean, it's work. Okay, you're going to get a subpar product at the end of the day. You're going to have pissed off clients. You're going to have all this negative stuff happen. Most importantly, you're going to lose that employee ultimately.
Yep.
Ultimately, they're going to leave. Okay. Nobody's suggesting that people shouldn't work hard. Everybody should work hard, but it's got to be grounded in real world life. If you got somebody that's working 12 to 14 hours a day, what are they not doing? Well, they have no private life. They have no personal life. It's cutting into their time with their families. And then, oh, by the way, on Sunday, I'm working 8 hours on Sunday just to get somewhat caught up so I can do it all again next week. Eventually, if they have a significant other, a spouse, a partner, they're going to eventually say, time out. This is nuts. So you got to pay attention to what's going on in your reports life. So if you've got that person, this is the people I would tell you to go check on. Okay. Because chances are they're not okay. Okay. Go check on the person that never complains. Go check on the person that always seems to have their stuff together. Go check on the person that anytime you put something on them, they say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, and they go down the road. Go check on them because they're not okay. I'm just telling you right now, they're not okay. These types of people are not typically folks that are going to raise their hand and say, hey, I'm kind of at capacity here. They're just going to keep taking it and taking it and taking it. And eventually you're going to run off a great employee, somebody that's very valuable to your company unintentionally. You're not going to do it. They're not doing it intentionally. This is why it's so important to walk and talk, to go out and talk to your people, to ask them how they're doing, to see what their days look like. Assumptions are like something else, right? They all make you look bad. And there's just no way that you can know what's going on in all of your employees' daily professional lives if you're not out there communicating with them and checking on them. I mean, I'm serious. Go check on them. Go ask them, hey, are you okay? Is everything good? Do you need anything from me? Is the workload right? Say those words. Don't assume that just if you go, hey, is everything okay? They're going to go, everything's good, boss. And then they're going to go back to being miserable and burning out. You've got to have a conversation with your people and find out if what you're asking them to do is realistic. Because if you don't, what happens to all great employees? They get all the work from the people that aren't great employees. You can sugarcoat it all you want. That's what happens. We allow mediocre employees to destroy the day-to-day lives of our great employees. Or I knew a gentleman that would allow a direct report to him, to be an absolute ass to everybody below their direct report. Why? Because that was something he didn't have to deal with. Being a leader isn't about a title and sitting in the corner office. It's about getting off your ass and going out and supporting your people. It's about having real conversations with them and asking them, are you okay? Are you good? Does this work? Are we doing what we're doing? Does it work? Real quick, and I'll get off this.
Well, I'm going to jump in with two stories because I've got two stories that perfectly reflect this.
So this person, yesterday I spoke to them. They asked me what they should do. I said, you need to call up and talk to your direct supervisor. And depending on how that goes, you might need to call their supervisor. And depending on how that goes, you might need to call the head of the organization. And they called their direct supervisor. Direct supervisor listened, was very responsive, said, this is great. Yeah, no, this is great input. That person took some solutions to the conversation. They weren't just complaining, but they said, hey, if we do this and we do this and we do this, it'll free up this amount of time and take this amount of load off. So they took solutions. To their supervisor's credit, they listened. Okay. They heard it. They acknowledged it. They said they were going to do something about it. Now they've got to do something about it, but that doesn't happen overnight. I mean, give them a little bit of time to make the correct moves. But then an interesting thing happened. After that conversation, this same employee was that's buried said there's a company-wide what's supposed to be a fun day that's mandatory. Now, I've never heard a fun day be mandatory in my life.
You weren't in the military long enough, Nichols.
No, I have in the military. I'm talking about in the private sector. I'm talking about the private sector. In the private sector, I've never heard of something that's supposed to be a relaxing, fun day. And by the way, it's mandatory. You have to come. So this same employee who's buried, working weekends, doing all this stuff, called the person above their direct report, because that's who they had to go to, they thought, and say, hey, instead of me going to this mandatory fun day, I need to work because I don't have time to take a day off to go hang out and not work. I'm already behind because I've got all this workload that's been piled on me. That person told the employee, well, that's not my decision. It's mandatory for everybody unless you have a medical reason not to be there. Mandatory fun day. And so it's mandatory that you're there. The only person that can tell you no is the head of the organization. So this employee contacted the head of the organization, told the head of the organization everything was going on. And the head of the organization said, wait, whoa, what? You're working how many hours? You're working a full day every Sunday? No, that's not okay. They had no idea. So this is why I'm telling you, if you're the head of an organization or if you lead people, get off your butt and go ask them if they're okay. Have a conversation with them. The head of the organization is a smart person. She recognized, I'm going to lose a really good employee if I don't address this, right? She never had an expectation of this employee working 12, 14 hours a day. Sure didn't have an expectation of this employee working a full day on the weekend, but she just didn't know it was happening. Okay? So do yourself a favor and go check on them.
So speaking of being checked on, so young Major Evans was sitting in the CAG doing another presentation. It was 7:00 at night.
Dave, tell everybody what the CAG is.
So I was a speechwriter for a senior officer, Commander's Action Group. We did all the presentation speech writing for a senior officer in the Air Force. So I'm just doing my thing, and I'm sitting there like I did every day. And the boss walks in, and his comment to me was very specific. He's like, "What the hell are you doing here?" And I said, "Well, you need this presentation done by tomorrow, and I'm here working to make sure it gets done, like we always do."
Yeah.
And he looked at me. I'll never forget it because it changed my life forever. He goes, "If you can't be done by 6:00 at night at the latest, and be home with your family, then you don't deserve to work here, because I don't want people working overtime in this office. You got to figure out how to do work faster or delegate or whatever it takes, or tell me that it's too much and we'll figure it out." That changed my life. And the reason it changed my life is because I took that philosophy with me for the rest of my career. So in 2005, he told me that to me. For the next 8 years in leadership, every organization I was a part of, I had the same philosophy. Fast forward to management by walking around that Phil just talked about. There are filters in your organization. If you are an owner of an organization, you have sub-level managers that are keeping information from you. They're not doing that to hurt you. They're doing that because they think they're protecting you.
Helping.
They think that they're helping. They think they're doing right by the organization. I've got 300 young airmen in a squadron. Every Friday I did a walkabout. Every Friday I would sneak off when nobody knew where I went. I would walk around the organization, do exactly what Phil said, talk to people. And this one Friday, I walk into a room with some of the youngest people in the organization who live in the dorms. Air Force dorms are nice, but they have their share of challenges. So
now, are you a colonel at this point?
Yep.
Okay.
So
you know, if a colonel walks in a room for young troops, it typically gets their attention.
They were a little uncomfortable.
They pay attention.
But I sat down in the room and I just started BSing with them. Right. First, I said, "How you doing?" "Oh, we're fine." I go, "Really?" I go, "So everything's perfect." You know, you have that conversation. You know exactly what to expect if you have any sense of people. And they go, "Is there anything that you guys need help with?" I mean, anything. Is anything going on I don't know about? And they go, "Well, do you know we don't have hot water in the dorms?" I looked at them. I go, "No, I did not know you had hot water in the dorms." We started talking. I found out they had told their supervisor a few days ago and that it hadn't been taken care of. And it wasn't out of the supervisor doing something wrong. They just didn't have the shtick that I did by picking up the phone. I'm not saying I'm important, some important person. It's just when a commander calls another commander, things happen a little faster. Right. Same thing with your boss. If there's things going on in your organization, the owner has the ability to make things happen in a hurry. So don't be afraid. Don't complain, but don't be afraid to tell the boss when there's a problem and offer them a solution. Like Phil said, I loved it. I still love it. When people have a problem, they come in and go, hey, we're dealing with this. This may be the best way to fix it. I'll give it a shot. Go try it. Because young people especially have really good ideas that have never been tried before. And if they have been tried and not successful, the young person learns how to adapt and adjust to their decisions. So you're building a leader for your organization.
There was an old saying out there, I get all the sleep I need when I'm dead. I said that once to a commander, and he says, well, Nichols, do you want to die when you're 30? I mean, listen, we all want to prove that I say we all. I know many of us when we were younger wanted to prove we were superhuman and we could take on anything, and I didn't care what it was. I would do whatever was necessary to get it done. There's a lot of people like that out there. Those people are going to burn out. I mean,
or they're going to destroy their personal. They're going to have no personal. They're going to be miserable.
Correct.
I mean, completely
correct.
And they're not going to realize until they're 55 that they wasted their entire life on stuff that didn't pay any dividends.
I read last night there were 4 things that this was from a hospice provider. Talked about the 4 things that she heard every male patient say when their lives were coming to an end. And she said the number one thing for every one of them, without exception, is I wish I'd spent more time with my family. Without exception, every one of them wished they'd spent more time with their family. We all live in a real world, right? You gotta provide for yourself and for the people you care about and that you love, whether you're a man or a woman. In today's world, it's equal to both genders, right? Doesn't matter who you are. You've got responsibilities, but your number one responsibility is to be available, right? Is to be engaged in their life. We've talked about this, Dave and I have, ad nauseum. When Tanya and I's oldest son passed away when he was 16, one of the real gifts I had in my life was that I had no regrets about the amount of time I had spent with my children. I didn't second guess, did I spend enough time with Ty? I didn't wonder. I knew I had. I was that dad. If there was something going on, I was there. If there was something going on that maybe he didn't even want me at, I was probably there. It was just, so we were fortunate that was the case. Now that's an extreme case, but I'm just telling you, don't wake up, be 85 years old, God willing, know that you're getting ready, your time here is done. The fourth quarter is about ready to run out and you don't have any overtime, right? This is it. And have those kind of regrets. You got to find a way, to Dave's point, you got to find a way to be more efficient, or you got to adjust things, or you got to go to somebody and say, hey, listen, this is what's going on. This is what I'm doing. People recognize good employees. There's always the talk about the mean owner of the companies and the mean leader of companies and all these mean people. And my experience is that's just not true the mass majority of the time. Are there jerks out there? Absolutely.
There's 5%, right? There's 5% of the company owners out there that are going to be that person.
Yeah, there's jerks.
5% of the military leaders. There's 5% of it's the 5% rule, and those exist.
They exist.
But we spend so much time today as leaders focusing on the 5%, right? As opposed to focusing on the 95% that are doing what they're supposed to do. That are doing everything. Focus on those people. Make sure you're not listening to the noise of the 5% because they can be really loud, especially with social media. They can be really pain in the backside, but they will destroy you and your organization and your family. Don't let that happen. Yeah. You want to be 50-something years old and go, man, I am so glad I figured this out and that I have spent time with my family and my friends and that I have a life beyond this thing. Because I can tell you, I retired from the Air Force 9 years ago. And if you don't think that is one of the hardest things you can do, it really is, because my whole life changed. And I left and I'm not being rude or mean, but nobody cared, right? The day I walked out of my command tour and moved on, nobody missed a beat. Everything kept moving along.
Air Force kept operating.
That's right. They kept kicking ass, just like they're supposed to. So don't think that you're that important in life to where, you can't take care of things you need to take care of, because when you're out of that position, it's going to keep going. The world doesn't stop.
Yeah, I had a picture pop up yesterday or the day before of one of my oldest dearest friends. And her and I had a very hot romance in kindergarten. We were, on the verge of getting married in kindergarten.
Well, that's when you make those decisions.
I gave her rocks, for God's
There
sakes. I went and picked up some rocks and I gave it to her. It was a big commitment. But I'm looking at that picture, and here's these two innocent, young 5-year-olds, and it doesn't seem like it's been 50 years ago, but it has. It's been 50 years ago. And what was cool is Lori's mother, who's a school teacher, reached out to me yesterday and said, "Can you send me that picture?" And so I sent that picture to her, and she said, "These are the things that bring me joy, is seeing these things and remembering those moments and the fun stuff and and all that." And I think that's the thing that we got to remember. It's not the big things that matter to employees. It's the little things. It is absolutely the little things. This employee I was talking about yesterday was so happy when I spoke to them late yesterday afternoon. And why were they so happy? Because they felt appreciated, they felt valued, and they felt like they'd been heard.
Yep.
You think about it in the grand scheme of things, if you can't give that to the people that are in your life, brother, you need to go look in the mirror and try to figure out what you're doing. If you can't help people feel appreciated, heard, and valued, come on now. Those are simple, basic things that we should be doing, in everybody's life to have a relationship with. I got a group of guys that mean the world to me in the town I live in, and we have lunch together 3 or 4 times a week. And if you don't know us and you sat down next to us, you'd think none of us liked each other, because we're constantly giving each other a hard time. We're messing with each other. We're teasing. We're poking. I promise you, if one of those people needed something, right, there's 7 people in this group, there'd be 6 other human beings whose butts would be there in a half a second, right? That's what gives you confidence as a human being, is just knowing that there's other people that have your back.
You're not alone.
There's other people that are there for you. There's other people that are going to support you. There's other people that care about how you feel when you lay your head on your pillow at night. I'm going to tell him, this guy, we've got a corporate summit with one of our businesses next week. He does an annual thing with his family where he goes out and spends family time together. I found out yesterday this corporate summit, day 2, was going to interfere with that family activity. So I called and talked to the other people involved, and I said, we're doing it in one day or we're not doing it. And I told them why, and everybody said, well, hell yeah, we're not interrupting that, because it matters. This guy never takes a day off, ever. He sends out reports on Sundays to clients, and I'm saying this because he won't say it, but you got to check on guys like Dave, and you got to make sure they're okay. Now, Dave's okay, but the point being is that he's not going to say anything, because why? Because he's a leader. And his way of receiving that was, listen, if we need to work on Wednesday, we'll work on Wednesday next week. This is important, but it's important that we check on them, because while, yeah, we know that and you're fine and we get all that, there's no reason for you to do that. We can get it done in one day. So we'll get it done in one day. Right.
We're trying to save the environment by me staying home. Right.
Yeah, I know, but I want you to go do a little damage. So it's important, though, that you check on everybody. Owners and leaders of companies have very difficult jobs. This is something I would tell you, because I think this is important when you're talking about leadership. Don't assume that the CEOs or the owners of companies are as calm as they appear, because they're dealing with a lot of stuff and keeping a lot of things in the air that's very stressful, that's very, it's just hard. It's hard work. So as an employee, there's nothing wrong with an employee, and I would encourage you to do this. If the opportunity presents, check on your CEO. Say, hey, you doing good, boss? How are things going?
He'll say yes.
There? He'll say yes, but when he or she walks away, she's going to feel really good, or he's going to feel really good that somebody in the organization cared enough just to ask how they were. I mean, we're all human beings. I mean, we all want to know that there's somebody there that's got your back. Being a leader doesn't have to be lonely, but it is.
Yep.
Right? Doesn't have to be, but most times it is. But just remember, you got to take care of each other every day.
Yeah, the one thing I'm going to close, since this is about leadership and what to do, we talked about mission, vision, values. That's important. But today we really focused on the people part.
Yeah.
And I think it's all important for anybody that's listening to this. Please share this with people, because this is a message I want to go out to the world right now. Be nice. It costs you nothing to be nice to people. There are people that are hurting all over the world right now. And I'm being a little bit wimpy right now, but are loving. But the reality of it is if you just smile at somebody today when you walk past them on the street, it's going to change your day. If you say hi to somebody today when you're walking on the street, it's going to change your day. And that's, leaders understand the importance of recognizing when people are struggling and smiling at them and asking how you doing. If we all start doing that every day and don't try to fight everything and just try to be nice, you're going to be so much happier and so much more peace.
Well, I think, over the weekend I saw, you'll see these posts where there's these 10-day challenges to post something positive or to share a picture of a child, or, there's all these things on social media. And one of my lifelong friends, who I haven't seen in probably 30 years, but we grew up together, and I grew up in a small town. So if you were lucky enough, I'll say this, to be raised in a small town, that everybody kind of loves on each other. Even the people that maybe you're not ultra tight with, you still care about them, right? I mean, there's just something about being in a small community. But this is somebody I truly care about, a great person, love her family. She's got a beautiful sister, wonderful parents. Her dad's a complete stud, Purple Heart, from Vietnam, career Army man, just a stud. And her mother's, I realize now, when I was growing up, first of all, her mother's gorgeous. Okay. As a stupid kid, it was just Mrs. So-and-so, right? I'm not going to embarrass her, but she was this wonderful, sweet, positive woman that was always kind to everybody, right? Well, my friend posted, I'm on day whatever, my 10-day challenge to post something positive. Boy, sometimes it's really hard to be positive. And I just took 2 seconds, hit click, and said, hey, friend, you're loved. Said anytime you post something, it impacts my day. It puts a smile on my face. All true. Okay, I wasn't lying to her. But it doesn't matter who you are. There's days it's just hard.
Yep.
It's just hard. And that's when you need that support system again. And that's when you need to, that's why when Dave says everybody just be nice, man, it matters. I mean, it matters to be nice. One of the companies Dave and I have ownership in, there's a couple of employees that aren't doing real well. And we've got some other employees in the organization that's answered us, well, let's fire them. And we're like, well, let's slow down a little bit. Let's walk through this. These are people. These are good people. Maybe they're not doing things exactly the way we want it right now, but your first instinct can't be to fire their ass. Let's walk through it and do it in a caring way to see if there's something we're missing, right? So be nice professionally, be nice personally. It's hard. And it's really hard with family, because there's many times the people that get the roughest version of us are the people we love the most, simply because we know we can. We know they may not like it, but they're not going anywhere. They're going to love you through it. And that's not fair to them. So be nice to those you love, be nice to those you know, be nice to those you don't know. Just be nice. It's a good thing. Make you feel better too.
It costs nothing to be nice.
Costs nothing to be nice.
It costs nothing to check on your people. It costs nothing to understand what's going on in your organization. You're not micromanaging by asking those questions.
Yeah.
You're just building a stronger organization with a better culture. So first thing you got to do is fix your leadership if it's not fixed right now. With that, Dave and Phil, we are out of here.